I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, just gonna pose it as like this.
They are my glasses.
Thank you for asking. Mostly this whole panel is gonna be a little more. It's not advanced, but it's a little more. It's more progressed because not a lot of people are juggling a lot of work all the time.
Right.
So it's basically just like in preparation. What advice would you give when you start doing that?
Yeah.
Is that what you told me not to do?
It's funny, Kitty, we're just talking about
Not to run off the edge?
there's sort of different like phases.
And you introduce, yeah.
Seasons. Like, oh yeah, you know, right? Like, hey, I'll be flush with work this time, and then might be a little fast. Be fasting a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
There's definitely like that go hard phase.
Yes, where you have so much. Like I've just dropped about a couple shows now. Like this is actually a relaxed time in my life. I will be pulling out my calendar as an example.
I'm always on my phone. So I'll be writing down some notes when I think of some notes.
Please get on your phone and look up things. I am not the person to be like, don't be on your phone. Yes, I'm not a stickler at all. I've been in rooms where they were like,
We'll talk about it, but like,
like, baby, what?
After this, it's okay.
It's my closet.
Again, it's
Dress up as something. I even already had this. I didn't have to buy that.
Well, we're gonna weekend in one shot tonight, and then tomorrow we're going to Captain to actually film a giant campaign.
I mean, well, I'm no hype for you.
So my bunny outfit
It better be
Friday, Thursday, and then when I wear Friday for my slip.
I mean, we're filming in the cabin.
Exactly.
So the only thing
The
that
bunny
sucks
ears
is
with the costume
rain is all
and the
come
lights
down
and
like
yeah.
starting.
everything else.
It's gonna
It's like
start.
that's cool.
I know.
You gotta heck
At least
better.
it'll be like
Well, we're doing a lot of people.
oh, it's outside.
So it's like if we went to do like mountains, yeah, it's like we'll make the
Are we supposed to? Yeah, it's always supposed to.
I should have checked out. Like, oh, hey guys, maybe we should go.
I did last year just to do a cosplay last year when I did Nadja from What We Do in the Shadows.
and then we have
That was just another, hey, I got some. I got this.
I get it.
Let's pull stuff out of the closet.
Oh, everybody, yeah. Some people were
I'll eat just.
Now I'm just debating if I'm gonna put makeup on it.
I'll have to eat like.
I'm gonna put makeup on eventually. I'm like, I don't know. It's half on. It's
I
half
know.
two.
It's great.
The stuff that's on is.
He knows me.
Well, the eyeliner is different. I get to wake up that way.
But specifically,
I like moderating.
Well, after this, I'm gonna take
I'm
my
like,
stuff to the guy I'm seeing. He's parked my car, parked at his house, literally my beer garden. Literally, like, I'm gonna take like two big things to cosplay, my makeup too, just to like get it, so I don't have as much to take tomorrow.
and I'm like, where's the correlation? Where's the correlation?
Well, I guess my rolling cases I'll keep here because I take all the boxes today. After the panel, I decide what to make it on. We're over there, we'll have dinner, and then I'll come back over here to hang out.
Sure, because I mean, it's building your community. Very much so. It's
It's
tiring.
something, yeah, if something comes up, sure.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
This is
I would just like,
draining as hell.
She'll do that. If she
I
sees
feel
you at
you.
another con, she'll do it. Because I take her everywhere, so she proves to people that, like,
I yelled about it already on Twitter.
Yeah.
This, I don't understand the people waiting with me at the It's not what I want to do.
she wants to start doing TikToks here. She has her TikTok account. She's allowed to look at things and like things, and then realize if she wants to post things, we will do it together. She's not allowed to post things on her own. So, but she does have.
My dad just died.
She has done some video game
Baby,
streaming
what?
stuff that I have on my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel.
I guess like some people need to talk about it.
So I won't let her live
Some people
stream
don't understand.
because I want to make sure I can edit like if she accidentally says something
Not
because
not
child.
malicious. But it doesn't mean
I
it
bring her
doesn't
to
have
the it's more of just being able to edit like what she accidentally said.
Yeah. Put it on the
She
chair
shares
next
something
to you.
really personal about her school.
Don't.
or
Yeah.
something
Absolutely not.
that she knows not to do. But
The drinks are
the
fine,
stream
just
for
not
an hour
that.
you're talking.
Thank you. Thank you. But yeah, no, I don't know why people don't have a filter. And it's like, no, I feel right. It's just like, you
I
gotta
mean,
find the person to talk to.
there's many different aspects of news agencies. There's just not a,
That's why I thought
sometimes they
YouTube,
just
like,
need to let it go.
recorded
Yeah.
videos
But it's
was
like, as I
the
said,
best
even
way
if
to
you have malicious
ease
intent,
into it.
Yeah.
And it's funny, there's one
Right.
like
Exactly.
watching
Yes.
yelling.
Exactly.
Where's the
exactly
healing?
that
How many
part?
people know how to heal?
Okay. Right. All right, everybody, we are at time. It is so wonderful to have you guys here on this lovely Sunday afternoon. Hi, I am Chelsea Bites, and we are going to be talking about building yourself versus building your community. So, welcome to this panel. Now, remember, we are going to have an official charity running throughout this. So, please, please, please take some time and consider if you would like to donate. This year's official charity is Open Hand, and DragonCon will match up to $100,000 of money raised during the con. So you can drop your donations right up there. Thank you so much, Barb. And yeah, however you feel generous and whatnot. We can take everything. Thank you. Okay, but we'll take anything in the can. All right, thanks. All right. So I am Chelsea Bites. I'm a host for Amazon Intel. I also stream on my own channel. I produce content on YouTube, TikTok, Twitter. Yes, I love Twitter, but my goodness, does it need work? And all of these other places where I exist. And I'm going to go down the line. You can refer to me as she, her. Please, if you want to ask questions, I'll open those up in about 10 or 15 minutes. If you'd like to tell us how to refer to you, please feel free and welcome. Please start from you. Introduce yourself.
Of course. Hi, my name's Omega Jones, also known as the Critical Bard across all social media channels. I'm a professional actor and vocalist from the Midwest, a stage actor specifically. I'm also a tabletop designer and player and all that jazz. I'm a host and a moderator. I'm a Twitch partner. I say I'm a jack of all trades, master of like 3 of them. Listen, my pronouns are he and they. I'm very, very excited to be here. Oh, I'm also a DEI specialist, or consultant, I should say. And yeah, I'm very excited to talk about some real stuff. This is a topic.
Hi.
Hello, everybody. My name is Eric Good. I go by Hey Good on all the socials. I'm a full-time content creator, Twitch streamer, podcast host, D&D player, TikToker. I talk a lot about mental health, particularly ADHD. I also lately have been having a lot of success making stuff out of garbage, which is my favorite thing to do. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm really stoked to talk today. I really am. This is my last panel, and I feel like I finally get to like cap off stuff I've been thinking about.
I'll make it good. Hey, Phaedra.
Hello, I'm Phaedra Black. I am she, her. I make content across multiple platforms, Twitch, TikTok, and adult content. So building the community versus myself is definitely a fun topic to hit on that aspect. So we shall see where that goes in this conversation.
I'm excited. I'm very excited. Hi.
Hi, I'm Chris Kersey. I go by Kersey Fabrications, usually on YouTube, but I'm also across all social media as Kersey Fabs because Kersey Fabrications is too long. I consider myself primarily a maker. I do things with props, cosplay. My channel has, up until now, primarily been focused on 3D printing and making things with 3D printing, but I'm trying to transition a little bit more into the props and cosplay, which is why this particular panel matters to me because it's about what you enjoy doing versus about what your community expects from you. So pronounce he, him.
Have you tried transitioning into garbage? You'd be surprised.
No. Although I have a lot of that from after making stuff.
Plenty of that. I can see it.
Hey everyone, Tony P. I go by Tony P. It's he, him pronouns, please. I have 2 podcasts. Tony P. Oddcast is my solo show. I talk about weird and wacky news from around the world. I have a panel show called In Addition with shout out to, there it is. Yeah. Some of them are here today. What day is it? I don't know. And then so that's what I do at night. By day, I actually make content for a consulting firm for companies. So we do video and podcast content as well.
I love that. So basically how I wanted to start this conversation is letting y'all know that this is very much not a novice or beginner conversation, but it's very much a preparation or if you're there, definitely just a sign to readjust, because I've gotten to the point in my career where I have been trying to balance spending time with my community, but also working outside of my community. I did not start streaming expecting to host. It was very much, I thought I would just live on my channel. And I don't think that was a very naive thought, because no one is presumptuous enough to think, oh, yeah, Amazon's going to come along and ask you to do a weekly show where you have to do hours of rehearsal, and you may have to write some things and add and change things to your script. You might have to build computers sometimes for them. You don't expect that. That's not how contract work works. So when it comes along, it feels like, how it kind of feels like it's too good to pass up.
Yeah.
I'm sure. And it's really also hard to say no to opportunities, because you don't know if you're going to get them. But once you take these on and they start to invade in more of your time and space, it definitely takes away from what you normally do. I got on my show, and I used to do at least like 40, 50, 60 hours in some cases. There were months where I was struggling to hit 20 hours. Like, it was just too much, because I'd be doing Amazon, and then I'd be doing 2 streams for AMC. And those are like minimum 4-hour streams. My longest streams were like 5 hours. So doing like 8 hours on their channel and mine, I can't. I get it. Another thing that you could discuss is the stigma of, content creators and streamers, they're not really working. Like they don't do 8 hours. Like, if they're not streaming for 8 hours, it's not really work, but that's not all we do. So that's how I want to frame this conversation, is balancing your opportunities that aren't necessarily on your channel or your platform, and serving your community. So do y'all have anything that just immediately pops off for you? I see you, Eric. I see you.
Oh, well, I mean, my brain just goes like, I got 40% of a thought here, 30% of a thought here. Maybe if I just together, it'll be something.
Right. Take your time. But I also definitely vibe with you as well when you're shifting, because there's that conversation. Well, it doesn't have to just be your opportunities that are given to you. It's you see an opportunity to open up and have another creative thought. And how do I communicate that to my community? How has that been? Have you started transitioning?
I've started transitioning a little bit. It really has turned into, well, let me start off with what I started my channel. When I started my channel originally, it was, again, about 3D printing primarily. I had a new 3D printer. I was pretty good at the subject matter, so I decided to start doing reviews of 3D printers, talking about how to use them, that kind of thing. I didn't know in the beginning what I wanted to do with the channel. I didn't know if it was 3D printing. I didn't know if it was making things, props, cosplay, and stuff. So I called it something generic like Kersey Fabrications, because it gave me a little bit of flexibility with where I took my content. And so that was important to me. So I'm not a full-time content creator. I have a day job and then a night job.
Exactly, yeah.
And, talking about like how much time we pour into it, because it's, if you do 8 to whatever, however many hours you do during the day, and then you come home, spend time with family, do dinner.
Yes.
And then you start your second job come 10 p.m.
Exactly.
And then you go until you can't stand up anymore. And then you start your next day. And it's very similar to that until you pick which night you're taking off.
Precisely.
But going back to your original question about transitioning then. So I've been making content on YouTube for over 3 years now.
So you're a content creator.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do it all. Yeah, you're amazing.
So I've been creating content for about 3 years now on YouTube, primarily focusing on 3D printing, that kind of content. People come to me asking for how to set up the printer, how to use the printer, how do I modify the printer, that kind of thing. So I start building an audience that's expecting that from me. And so when you start doing that and then you want to transition, you have to be careful.
Yes.
Because I also have a Patreon. So people are paying for a certain type of content, or at least that's the way I feel. And so you have to continue catering to those people. Otherwise, you're going to start losing people while you're gaining people. And that's a huge battle within itself.
I feel that.
Which audience do I try to keep? Which audience am I trying to build? And who am I doing it for? Which is what we're all here to talk about.
I appreciate you pulling that. It very much feels like that's just a platform, like wherever you are in your space, if you are creatively making just products or building a community, it very much speaks to everyone in that space. Yeah, please.
Well, I think the first thing that comes up for me when I think about doing stuff that is outside of, I say my community, like I own it, but the community, that I operate with, the immediate thing is fear.
Yeah.
A really deep, profound fear, because in my community we know each other. We know how to talk to each other. We know what flies. We know most people's pronouns just because we've been talking to each other for years. So we just it all just sort of flows. It's very safe in a lot of ways. But when I get contacted or reach out to somebody who's sort of a lateral move, who does something that I want to do eventually, and I'd like to start to get to know them, or somebody messaged me on TikTok and says hey, I'm putting together a compilation video of a bunch of crafting creators. So could you send me a 10-second clip of you doing a thing, and I'm going to cut it together into something. I get terrified when that happens, because it's the dark, scary woods. For all I know, I'll send them this 10-minute video, and it could be amazing. It could, that might introduce me to somebody who eventually becomes one of my best friends or something. But it also could turn out that it turns out 5 of the people in that compilation were horrible people that I didn't know were going to be there, and all of a sudden my face is associated with them, and it's a whole thing. So whenever I do something or think about doing something or get approached about doing something that is outside of my immediate community, something that I know that I like, that my community likes, that we all just vibe with, I immediately I can feel my blood pressure rising, because it's new and scary. But that's also why I love this job, is because there's a bunch of new and scary stuff out there that you get to engage with, that I get the privilege, and that I'm lucky enough to get to do every day. And I never know who I'm about to meet. I never know what opportunities I'm about to get. And that's thrilling and fascinating, but it is also absolutely terrifying.
It is terrifying, because in any sort of content creation, especially in the adult side versus any collaborations you do with anybody, you're tying your reputation and your name and your brand to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
If they do something down the line, you're attached to it forever. And then
Literally.
for me, because I still do Twitch and I'm part of staff for our local Twitch community here, I plan events for there. So you have to walk a very fine line of what you associate with your community and your brand, and what is put out there under your name, because it can affect a lot of the things I do. I've planned events for DreamHack, for MomoCon, for the local place here. We do a lot of things. So you really have to be careful the image that you put out. And it's fun.
It
and
is
terrifying.
fun. It is terrifying, and very much. I won't harp too much on talking about how to say no. I'm sure there's a whole panel on how to accept, opportunities, and how to refuse, and managing your time. But yes, please get comfortable with just realizing when you've had enough, or when it's not right. I used to respond to every single email that would come through, because very much when I started, it was, I have to make the most of every opportunity. And if you have the bandwidth for that, that's great. If you have the energy to respond to everyone and give them a detailed reason why you can't do this or you can do that, then sure, do it. But yeah, just relax. Just please relax. Oh yeah, please. 'Cause I was literally gonna say, Bart is one of the busiest people I know.
It's unfortunately true. But I think for me, something that has always been something that I stick with, no matter what I'm doing, is remembering if I'm doing it for my community, and I put community in quotations for a reason. Am I doing it for my community, or am I doing it for myself? Are they one and the same? Are they different? Knowing what you're doing and why you're doing it. I think it's very easy to be like, I want to do this because my community cares and my community wants to see it, and blase, blase, blase. But if it doesn't work for you as a person, and you're only doing it to fulfill some unnecessary phantom obligation to a community that you have, then why are you doing it? You're only bringing your own mental down in the long run. And I say community because we put this obligation on the people who watch us. Individually, they are, Each person, they do their own things, X, Y, and Z. But that community only exists because they are a community watching you. So their obligation is watching you. They will like the things that you are doing. If you start to shift your focus or your perspective to doing things to benefit to obligate them, then it becomes it's a weird back and forth, and almost parasocial relationships develop that way. I just talked about trauma dumping and all these things. You start to build these unnecessary barriers in your own personal, and it gets too muddy. So bringing it back, I always think about no matter if I'm taking a gig, an opportunity that I've gotten. If it's a new game that comes out, if it's a new makeup line that I want to test out, because I do a lot of things. I'm a variety streamer. Or if it's music that I'm doing, if it's a show I'm doing it, am I doing it for myself? Or am I doing it for the people around? Or is it one and the same? Again, just notating why you're doing something will just be a very good step for you in the long run.
I love that. I love that so much. I'm going to take that too and give my little I'm like, oh my God. With that, I love that we talk about like identifying, oh, that would be really cool for me. Or, oh, that they love that. You see like the difference, like, oh, I'd love to do this. Oh, I think that would be cool for, I call my people the bike command. There are plenty of opportunities. I'm like, oh yeah, the bike command would love to, be a part of something like this. But there's also opportunities where I pick them up and I'm like, oh yeah, I was really excited about this. I think they could have gone one way or the other. So it was really for me. It boosted my resume. It boosted up my CV. It gave me that experience. And, they probably could have taken it or left it. So I feel you when you're like, yeah, like you just need to decide like, hey, who are you doing this for? And if it feels like you're obligated to do it, maybe rethink that.
Yeah, like I don't do a lot of, and I suck because something I would love to do, but I guess no, for my mentor, I guess can't always do it. I don't do a lot of sub nights, and a lot of people on Twitch would do like specific streams.
I don't do those either.
Exactly.
I feel like it puts pressure on people because, especially in this economy right now, it's like people don't have that kind of extra money to throw at subs and donations and bits. And then when you make that the whole point of your stream, you put people in a position where they feel obligated to give things they can't. So they either don't show up and they're not there. So then you are losing and alienating parts of your community. And then
it's like you can
make
like
a weird dynamic between people, especially because you have a lot of streamers that do them so often.
Yeah.
Like I get for like big, charity events or birthdays, big like that. But there's some people that they're doing one every week, and
some people get a lot. They get away with those though. They get away with them though. Some people have supportive communities. Yeah.
Like you hear these stories about like people giving what they can't afford, and then them like,
let's go.
Okay, let's go. They're buying like friendship. They're buying like attention.
Let's talk about that.
They have the need for validation, so therefore they are giving to these streamers they can't afford because they're getting recognition back from it.
See, and that's something that I, as a streamer, am adamantly against. Like, I don't play that game. If you don't have the money, don't sub to me. And I say it very clearly. I'm like, hey, this is not an obligation ever, because you're allowed to say, hey, if you'd like to support me, sub to my Patreon or sub to my coffee or, X, Y, and Z, but it is never an obligation. So for me, when it comes to sub nights, it's not that I'm alienating people, but there are individuals who have been willing to support me, and I'm willing to give them a day for saying thank you. Now, not all support is financial, and that's very clear. So it's not alienating the people who can't do it financially. It's just showing an extra little thank you to those who have done so. For me, I'm just saying that I know that when I do sub nights, there is now a level of, we already have this barrier. We have streamer and community member. And when you are subscribed, that barrier is slightly closed. And that's like only slightly because money doesn't buy you friendship. Slightly closed. But then when you have that sub night, they are there with you. In some way, shape, or form, they are playing with you. They are experiencing with you.
Yes.
They are with you. And sometimes if someone pays for that entry, you still don't know them. And then awkward situations can come out of it. And it's happened too many times for me that I just have to say, okay, I know for my mental, I personally can't do sub nights as much as I would like to. But I know other people do, and that's okay. I'm not going to judge somebody for doing it just sub night.
Right.
And it just depends on what works for you personally.
Right. And I'm going to take that. I'm going to put my little like cap end on it. Definitely building you and your community can mean so many things. It doesn't even have to, like we said earlier, deal with companies coming in. It's very much the relationship that you have with your community. Some people will knock out. I've been watching this recently, and I know we are very streamer focused. So please come in and talk about, because I really want y'all to give me that unique perspective as well. But what we've noticed with streamers, especially in the past few months, they have been streaming for like 72 hours.
No, ma'am.
40, like they've been going for weeks. They're like uncapped
No turkey, no
subathons.
salami. No.
And you can, and I know the motivation. I see it. I'm like, you want that money. And if you're willing to, do like
Yeah,
week
obviously don't have
long,
kids.
no, actually,
if I sleep for 3 hours, my kids are looking for me.
you're right.
You get
It's
3 hours?
surprising, but some of them do have kids.
They'll have them
They'll bring them on the stream. Some people are actually doing this with their families, and they're making it work. So how you decide to build yourself, because very much that is very helpful for you. Like if you can have people supporting you for these uncapped, really long streams, and y'all are comfortable with that, bet. I mean, you're better than I'll ever be. But it's also that sticky situation where I tell my stream, I don't make my money from my stream. I really don't. Like, I am not asking y'all to come in here and sub. It is completely voluntary, because you get extras. It's not necessary for you to be a subscriber to talk to me, to come and join in on movie nights, to come and play maybe some, because I feel you on the games. Like sometimes it's weird. It's just weird. It is what it is. But yeah, with sub nights, you can come and play games. You don't have to subscribe to play games with me. But if you want to hop in and be in the VC and maybe talk, I still have to vet. Nobody can buy access, like direct access. I'm sorry, that's just not me. But yeah, like very, very much think about how you approach your community, how you're going to set that relationship up. And then from there, when you start getting more opportunities as a creator, then you'll understand like, oh, what would they appreciate? What would they not appreciate? Is this going to take away from like the vision that I have for my brand and X, Y, and Z? But I want to go ahead and say, y'all are very, very welcome to walk up to that microphone and start asking questions. It has been about 15 minutes. So if you have any questions as we talk, please come forward.
And I
I was
guess
gonna say, I saw a hand already. I think in the front, I saw someone had a
Walk up.
question.
I want if we're streaming, I want them to hear y'all say it, because our audience needs to hear it.
Yeah.
So sorry to put you on the spot.
And I just want to say really quickly,
Yes.
It is very clear that we all have a lot of feelings about this conversation.
Yeah.
None of us are wrong, even if we have a differing opinion. None of us are wrong.
Something works different for everybody.
Exactly.
Your-
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody's community is different.
And that's why we're
Exactly.
panelists,
So you kinda have
because they've been wanting the
balance
same
different
vibe up
opinion.
there.
We
Yeah.
just have one person.
Exactly. So, anyway, sorry. Hi.
It's okay. I'm a teacher. I don't mind the sound of my own voice. I'm used to standing in a room full of people and nobody listening to me because I say the same thing 8,000 times.
I understand
So,
that too, yeah.
You know, it's nice that, people actually listen to other people and then respond to feedback. So thank you for being here. Thank you for having this. Thank you.
Thank you.
First of all.
Thank you so much.
And then I came here because, the mental health. So that's why I'm here, because, hey, I have social anxiety. But my teaching persona is my content. That is my character. But like, teachers don't have a social life. We are perfect. We don't do anything. So thank you, because now you have a new subscriber.
I didn't even
Or
know you
in
existed
multiple
outside of the
ways,
classroom.
You have a new supporter. And also, this whole table has some new supporters. I also teach music, so I'm the drama because I work with the theater. I am,
You have to be.
I am the behind the scenes, like the theater kid's friend, because we have all seen Mean Girls. I am a band kid.
I understand that.
You've seen where I worked when I was in college.
Me too.
We all
High school.
we are all here for reasons.
Yeah.
So my question is, you said about the ignorance of I'm being on the internet. Meanwhile, my whole life has been be a teacher. So I have to be perfect all the time. So, when the Facebooks opened in the 2000s and 4s or whatever, I was like, I have a college email, so I am professional. So my entire internet face is my teacher face.
Yes.
So for the polar opposite, for the ones that knew about all the social anxiety beforehand, because they knew they had mental health, they were misdiagnosed ADHD, and then
Right.
finally were diagnosed in their late 30s.
Mm. Are you sure you're not
or
Gideon Soros?
self-diagnosed.
Are we trying to talk about how do we keep this separate, or like
No, how do I Venn diagram? Because that's why I'm here. And now that's why I'm asking questions. Thank you.
got it?
So the first thing you said, which is why my hand popped up, but then the discussion shifted to, I was like, this is
Yes.
what I want.
Uh,
I am a sponge. So how do I continue to not burn myself out as an educator?
Yes.
Because I am a person, and I, without opening up that box, because we're here for other reasons, how do I not go so much into the negative so that I can actually dress up and be a true human being, so that I'm not angry, put your instrument away? That doesn't go there.
I have an
We
answer
do
to
better
that
than
if
this.
I
Yeah,
may.
please.
Yeah,
please.
do better.
It's
Yeah.
honestly,
So-
it's. I mean, I don't
So
want to say it's
teach
simple.
me the unofficial ways that you have had to go through the trenches, because I had to go through the trenches in different ways.
Got
But
it.
what's the official way? Because you had to learn, and that's the way I need to learn.
I
is your
think I
way.
have an
It's
interesting answer for you.
boundaries is
Yes.
the answer. It's
Go ahead and
boundaries.
thank you.
because that's my long question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
No,
Thank you very much.
I think that's a great question, because again, for me, it's boundaries, and that's the challenge of the building the community part for yourself. So I'm kind of the polar opposite. I don't. I'll say it. I don't care about my community. What? Why would he say? What do you
Oh no,
mean?
it's valid.
So what I try to do is stick to what I want to make, stay true to myself,
Yes.
and be kind. And through that, I've built a community, and they're an awesome community. They're probably not as big as
That's
they
awesome.
could be, but they're very close and personal and mean a
I
lot.
love it.
I blame
And
them for not being bigger.
yeah, and it's kind of a running joke. People, hey, you want to do this? No, I'm not doing that. I'm going to do what I want to do, and you're more than welcome to come on the journey. And I hope you're there. And if not, there's plenty of other people I can suggest. Other stuff. So it's boundaries, and people have families, people have kids. I don't, and I still am like, I'm not doing that. So whatever works for you, and especially teaching is extremely demanding. You
Yes.
maybe can't do something every week or every day or 72-hour streams or whatever.
Absolutely not.
So whatever works for you and your situation, make those boundaries and then stick to it or adjust as necessary. But don't worry
Yeah.
if people say you don't stream enough.
Oh, bump them. I would say that ultimately it's always going to be the tug of war between what you can
Yep.
give in your community and then there's going to be that third entity that comes in some cases, and they'll offer you other like roadmaps, other ways to do it. And just to give you a short answer, it's ultimately when does my neck start to hurt?
Yes.
when does my neck start to hurt? Am I stressed? Am I upset? Am I who I want to be? And am I enjoying myself at the end of the day? And it's really you were saying official, you're gonna have the official map for you. Now please, next question.
Wait, if I could just address that.
Yeah,
one minute.
interject one more
Yeah,
thing.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Sit back down.
We hadn't hung out last night. I'd feel bad, but we're cool right now.
We're cool.
Just on perfection and perfectionism.
Right.
People don't want perfection, except for some chefs, maybe, or conductors too.
Maybe an architect.
Architects.
Pilots.
Actually, okay. Some people very necessarily want perfection. Yeah.
Right.
It's not perfection. It's just practice as a musician.
Exactly.
Continue.
Yeah.
Yes.
Please keep going. Yeah.
People do not want perfection. What people want is permission to be the most authentic version of themselves. Now, they can give themselves that permission. We all can. It's hard, and it helps when you watch another person do it first. So when you're putting yourself in front of everybody, not just for content creation, but when you're in the world, when you are surrendering to the fact that you're imperfect and that you say awkward, and I don't mean you specifically, but you say awkward stuff sometimes, or you fart in an elevator. That's
Oddly
okay, right,
specific.
DC? That's fine.
It's
Sure,
a
that's happened
thing.
this weekend for some people.
By doing those things that feel like such blunders at the time, you are giving everybody around you, reminding them that they have intrinsic permission to be imperfect.
Yes.
And you make them more comfortable. And if they don't feel more comfortable, then they got some traveling to do. But to paraphrase the incomparable Uncle Iroh, the most important person to believe in you is yourself, but it can really help when somebody else does it first.
Yep.
I want to jump on that for just 1 second because
Sit
that
down.
was
Sorry.
I didn't have to say it, Tony. You didn't stand up.
Can I interrupt y'all real quick? Just plugging that charity one more time, just in case you forgot about that bucket right there. Remember, we are matching up to $100,000 for Open Hand. So yeah.
Get up,
I'm taking
everybody.
moderator notes over here. I'm like, oh,
So-
good moderator.
It's been 30 minutes. Got to say it, right? But please continue.
when I started out my channel, one of the things that, since it's highly technical content, at least it can be, one of the things I was really worried about was being perfect, was not saying the wrong thing, not looking silly, particularly if I was trying to convey something that was highly technical. I wanted to come across as a subject matter expert. And what I have found from doing it for this long was that my audience has grown much more when I've shown personality, when I've been myself in front of camera, than when I did what I thought an audience would want and be too stiff, be too technical, because people don't like watching that. People don't, it's not entertaining. And one thing you probably everyone here knows, at least on some level, from an internet perspective, people want to be entertained, even if they're learning.
Yes.
And so if you are going to think that you have to be perfect, from my own experience, that doesn't build an audience. That doesn't build a connection with you. Now you have just become a book that someone can read and go learn from you, but they don't like you necessarily. And I think it's really
Exactly.
important to start showing who you are, because like the best comments I ever get on my videos is when I include the outtakes at the end. Those are, people love that, because then they start seeing even more of my personality and learn a little bit more about me.
And I'm just going to cap all that with, you mentioned, and it really resonated with me, you mentioned that your teaching persona is what builds your community, but then you have social anxiety outside of that. And how do you do more of this and get more, be honest with yourself.
Yes.
At the end of the day, be honest with yourself. This teaching persona is great, and if it is what keeps you going and what keeps your community happy, so be it. But don't force so much of that to try to combat the social anxiety that you have, because that only creates more social anxiety, because you're building more community without, so be honest with the things that you can do. Be honest with your limits. Know your limits and know when you're getting to that point. It is the quickest way to burn out. It's the quickest way to shut down. It's the quickest way to end the community that you've built, because they're starting to see something different, So just be honest with what you can do. It is okay if that day you can't do more. It is very much okay if you can't do more.
They get what they get.
They get what they get.
Right.
Now you come up. Thank you so much for waiting.
Yeah.
So I didn't
Sit down.
expect
Oh, sorry.
That was great, Tony. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
That was great.
No, timing was excellent. So I didn't expect to have like a massive epiphany 2 minutes into this panel.
Oh,
And so that, I just kind of want to echo back
We're
to the
done here,
epiphany to
guys.
see
We're
if
done.
we're
like
done.
I'm understanding.
Yes.
So I stream pinball, IRL pinball. I stand in front of $35,000 worth of pinball machines in my house.
Yes.
It's not, I feel kind of dirty if I try to do anything that entangles money, right? Because it's like the community knows that I'm doing all right with the day job, or I wouldn't have what I have. So I have shied away from every opportunity anytime anyone's reached out to me that there's been any
Yes.
sort of like entanglement, with a few exceptions here and there where it's been kind of industry folks. And what finally occurred to me with listening here was what I've been doing. I just didn't consciously think these thoughts, was I was saying no to everything the community would not care about. The community does not care if I get a company to give me money because I shill their light bulbs. They don't care if I get it, that kind of stuff. But if a company says to me, hey, do you want to be the first person to play this game and stream it? The community wants to see that. So that was kind of the epiphany, it's like I was thinking it in terms of money, but it's not the money, it's whether or not the community would care if it enhances what they're getting versus, it's like, oh, well, wow, I enrich myself by an amount of money that's, pitiful compared to what I have to put into the content creation. So does that kind of like sound about right?
No,
That sounds spot on to me.
I'm gonna draw this from you, and very much so. We get so wrapped up, like you said, with obligating ourselves to our community, and that it's great. I've seen your stream as of like literally yesterday. Now I was like, oh my god, and it's really cool to see what you do. But also, I think people, and a variety streamer myself, or a variety creator, or whatever you offer, if you're marketing it off of you, they want to see you in different lights as well. It's very much why I started as a content variety streamer, because I'm like, whatever I'm doing, y'all are going to see it. Like, y'all are going to be there for that. So if you think it's something unique, even if it's a little different, if you even like it, even if your community's like,
I've dragged my community into some weird places.
Like
my two primary forms of content are pinball and tarot readings, which just go together perfectly.
Exactly. So I feel like we're on the same page as of, yes, if my community just doesn't care about this, like that's my guide. That's my guideline. Boom.
And I'm gonna say really quickly, because a lot of people don't like to talk about the money aspect of some of these things.
Oh, baby, take some money.
I don't know how often you stream or how long you stream, but you are putting in work. You are putting in time, and time is valuable. Why? Because you can't get it back. So however you use that time is however you use that time, and your community will just have to deal with that. Now, I'm not saying, be an asshole and be like, this is what I'm doing now. If you don't like it, get the F out. No, it's not necessarily that, but it could be. Right? It could. Oh, no, that's my MO.
Apparently
right?
That's on brand down there. So.
But I'm saying, if you want those opportunities that have a good chunk of money and you keep thinking, oh, my community might not want to see that, at the end of the day, as you said, Twitch streaming doesn't pay your bills.
Literally.
It doesn't. But those opportunities can. But what can happen with those opportunities? Sometimes. I mean, sometimes it's the gigs that get it. It may.
Truly.
Or retire eventually.
Yeah.
So I'll tag on to his point. I'm going to say two things. One, absolutely no problem. If you want to make money, want to try to get money, you want to do it. You are taking your time. Those pinball machines aren't free. That setup isn't free.
Right.
If you want to make money from it, do it. Now, personally, I'm going to flip. I hate money, honestly. Like,
same.
And so I have a day job, kind of like you. Like, I'm fine with my day job. I take the money element out of the streaming and the moderating because it's fun to me. And so I made a conscious decision. I was like, that's not for money. I'll just do whatever, which is why I don't have a community. I'm like, I don't care. So you make your own decision based on your situation. For those that make their living off streaming, do it, please. No shame. But whatever works for you, I think.
I think it's the day job is the day job. It's never going to be replaced by anything that comes out of what's going on with streaming. The thing is, it's like if money falls into my lap.
Oh, same. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong.
That's fine. It's the difference is like the kind of epiphany of what was the filter of why would I let the money fall into my lap? The filter now is, does it enhance the community's experience, or am I just doing it because, oh, sure, I guess I want more money?
And is it a good representation of you?
Justify.
Well, also, why wouldn't you? What's the cost? I mean, if your audience doesn't care, then why not do it?
But if I'm like shilling, if I'm doing something where I feel like,
if you put advertisement down at the bottom while you're doing it, they know you're shilling, and that's
right.
This is the shilling moment.
The community doesn't want to see it. And
well,
again,
how do you
I'm all right financially.
Now we're talking. Hold on. Let me have this for a second. All right. So yes, my stream knows very, very much like, oh yeah, Chelsea, she'll just throw us out and she'll disappear for a few days because she has to go work for the man on the other streams. But at the same time, I sure as well do my ads on if somebody comes and they're like, hey, we think this product would be great. And I'm like, you know what, you're right. This isn't, because I'm not about to go and do something completely from left field, but I will do ads and I will have my stream sitting there spamming the commands, spamming them, because purely it is about support. They are adults. They know what this is. Yeah. We are past the 2004 YouTube sellout movement where everybody was upset that their YouTubers were trying to feed themselves. So yes, I think
code is drink.
Right.
Code is water, whatever it's called.
I hear you. I know what you're saying. So if
I
you
take one
if you're
fairly
comfortable with that now, if that's how you built yourself up, then nobody's telling you to change that. But don't feel guilty.
Agreed.
That's
Yeah.
truly it. That's
Agreed.
truly all I want
Right,
you to
it-
take.
it's,
Yeah.
it's kind of now feeling like, okay, that's why I feel kind of guilty for some opportunities and turn them down.
Yeah.
And there's other opportunities where I'm like, no, I feel no guilt here whatsoever.
Exactly.
I'm gonna take it.
I
If
know
an
what to-
opportunity comes to you, you shouldn't feel guilt about it, no matter what, no matter the reasoning
your
behind it,
space.
because someone came to you because they either like you, your content, what you're doing, and they are offering something to you.
You do get to decide whether it's on brand, though.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like I mean, I have to say,
No guilt.
as a YouTuber, I get
Let me cut this one.
just email after email from companies, and so much of it is on brand. Some of it's brand
Yeah.
adjacent, and then some of it is
Do you even
why
know
would
what I do?
I don't even know what this is.
I'm not shilling G
So,
Fuel.
You can
right?
get so
Exactly.
far.
Yes.
You
Same.
can get so
you
far.
Same.
really
when it
have to
becomes on
decide how far off your brand you're willing to go. So, for
Right.
example, if I'm talking about 3D printers and a little kid's robot company contacts me, maybe that's close enough. Right, because I think it's interesting.
You could
Maybe
print
my
some
brand,
robots.
maybe my community will think it's interesting. But you get to decide, and
You
then
could do
take
anything.
feedback. There's nothing wrong with feedback.
Pinball can do anything. You just theme up those pinball
Yeah.
machines.
There
You
were some
can do
interesting ones.
whatever
You have
you
a
wanted.
DeWalt
Oh, no, I know
Ladders
folks who have
themed
like
pinball
rethemed
machine.
games and made games, and I want no part of it.
Okay.
And
I'm
hey,
a
whatever
programmer
you
by day, and I
whatever you
stand back
want.
and go,
All I want to say is you have the variety, the options, everything. So if you
Yeah.
ever decide to dip in, you got it. But your guide is your compass is you're aligned.
The
You
one
got
thing,
it.
the one thing I want to mention though about the money, because this is important to me, is and we see where it goes here is
Yeah.
for me, money sometimes becomes obligation. And for me, that is the hardest part about taking money. Sometimes I've gotten to the point where I've wanted to completely stop taking
Yeah.
money from anyone because it makes me obligated to someone.
Yeah.
And so
Oh my god.
if this is a hobby, sometimes I feel like I don't want to touch that because now I'm obligated to this company who sent me a printer that wanted me to review. And now it's been in my queue for 2 months and now they're pinging me. Where's my review? Where's my review? And then I even take it to the next level where you start taking Patreon money. And then
Yes.
am I obligated to those Patreon supporters now? What is my obligation to people paying me month after month for a certain type of content? And it's hard. And it's something I'm still working on constantly to the point where I'm stepping back from accepting certain sponsorships or accepting certain products because it's too much obligation on me and I'm feeling too much pressure
I'm right
because I
there
do
with
have
you.
that day job.
Because you can't do your creative on your schedule.
Exactly.
Because I had an issue
Yeah.
right when I moved at
Yeah.
the beginning of June where I had someone send me stuff to do a photo shoot with.
Yeah.
It was actually coffee. It was really kind of cool.
That's cool.
But they, without discussing my schedule with me, they
Ooh.
sent it to me at the beginning of June.
And
The
did they
beginning
expect?
of summer with my child.
Yeah.
We're moving houses. And then it gets to be beginning of July. I'm like, oh, well, you haven't done this yet. I'm like, yeah, I don't have time.
Oh,
We
right.
didn't like negotiate anything. I'll get to it when I get to it.
They're wild.
And so you end up with this pressure of now, are they going to badmouth other people? Well, she didn't fulfill her contract. She didn't do
And
this.
that's a
she
whole
didn't do
different
that. And
discussion
it's
on
like-
contract.
I'm gonna let
Right.
Bard finish
It's
this
like-
up, and then I'm gonna let you sit down.
And it's like, you didn't do what you,
oh,
I
I can
sent you
actually sit
stuff.
down.
Yes, please have a
Oh,
seat.
okay.
Thank you.
It's
Thank
like,
you.
would you stand or sit? I'm so confused.
No.
Sit down now.
I've made it clear what you should do.
Right?
Thank you for that wonderful question. But Barb, please.
It just comes back to whatever you're doing the community is still there for you, whether you're doing pinball or doing whatever, whether they're subscribing to you, they're still doing it because they want to support you. Don't feel like you have to change up your obligations or whatever because someone did something for you, especially if you didn't ask for it. So yeah, just remember that it comes back to you and yours. End of story.
But be sure that you're okay.
Yeah.
I think that this is important. Be
Be
sure
okay.
you're okay with losing community members.
Yes.
Yes.
Gaining
I
new
lose them
ones.
every day.
It's gonna
Because
be a cycle. You're
That
not gonna have
is
everybody the whole
constantly
time.
happening, particularly if you ever start a Patreon, you start getting
Shed them.
patrons and they come and go.
Yeah, we
You'll
gotta.
get them this month, they'll go next month. You won't know why they go. They don't leave a comment saying,
They
I
will.
really
They
hated
will
your
grow with
sponsorship.
you. They will grow with you. Please, your next question.
So I had a question as far as like we have we started on TikTok talking about mental health, neurodiversity, things like that.
What?
Hello, ADHD.
Hey.
Yeah, I've been following you and Katie for a hot minute. And off of that, we started a podcast, and now we've recently been talking about starting a Patreon because
Yes.
our podcast is my job now. And so I just had a question for all of you as far as like diversifying your platform, because we all know you can't stay on one or you're SOL.
Especially not TikTok.
Don't even get me started. I have my live access restored, but I'm still banned. So yeah, because yay,
I got
spicy
my comeback.
content. Yeah. So looking back, for all of you, like on your progression, on your journey from where you started to where you are, is there any aspect of that diversification process that you would have changed or done differently, knowing now what like, what would you advise other people who are looking to diversify? How would you, like, what's your one thing that you're like, do not do this or do this?
Please start.
Don't force it when you're not ready.
Yep.
Don't take on too many platforms at once.
No.
I'm going to specifically talk about Patreon for a second, because I have a Patreon, but guess what's not on my Patreon content?
Oh, that felt really good to hear you say.
I don't feel so bad now because I don't use mine hardly.
Well, I created a Patreon because as a performer, I was like, I know I can do some things, but then I got the Patreon and say, what exactly do I put on here that they want to
What
watch
are they
that I
paying
can do?
for?
Exactly. So then it just sat there, and I've had to make multiple posts on my Patreon saying, why am I so hold you? I have to make multiple, right? I have to make multiple points saying, I'm so sorry. I thought this is something that I could do, and I don't know how to navigate this space yet. So I obviously do not feel obligated to stay here. Luckily, I still have patrons, which is like, what? But I mean, that goes that people are supporting me.
But what
But
did most of them tell you?
They said it was, we're here for you. We're here for you and the things that you were doing. It's okay. Take your time, X, Y, and Z. I still feel bad because like 2 things on my Patreon. Regardless, it comes back to saying, diversifying your content is very important. Yes, because absolutely, what is the algorithm on TikTok? But don't force it when you're not ready, because that only burns you out quicker, or that only makes you feel like, oh, if this didn't work here because I wasn't ready, why would it work anywhere else? Right? So just be careful. Don't shoot yourself in the foot, or don't spread out too many eggs everywhere else, because I'm not collecting those things after they're done. I'm too tired. My legs hurt. So just do it when you are ready to do it, not when the world is telling you need to start diversifying.
I also try to keep different styles of content to different platforms.
Yes. What works on which platform?
Because I do a variety of different contents, I try to balance it to where this is here, this is here, this is here. So if you aren't comfortable with the adult content, you don't have to be a part of that side of my content creation. You can be on my Twitch or my Instagram, and you can be seeing that side of content. I don't blend the two. I have separate Twitters for both. You can really completely not be a part of that, because I have people that support me for the video game side and the conventions and the panels and things like that have no interest in that side. And I respect that. And that's why I keep them separate, because it's not for everybody. And there's people that never leave the adult side that don't even care about playing the video game side. I'm like, and that's fine too. You may not want to. And you have to really figure it out and try not. And if you have very different styles of content, don't bleed them over too much together, because you're really going to muddle your brand itself and what you're offering in very niche areas.
Also, I think it's important to know what your goal is for any particular platform, because to me, there are platforms like YouTube, which can immediately bring in income by getting to a certain threshold. And there are platforms like Twitter, to me, which are community platforms that will never bring in a dime, right?
They don't make a dime.
They bring in the indirect dime.
There we go.
It's advertising.
Well, building, right.
Yeah, I know what you're saying though. It doesn't actually pay
Twitter's
you.
always the one I
get
forget to use.
But then Instagram, for example, to me is fun.
Yeah.
I enjoy Instagram. I like posting what I'm working on. I like those incremental posts that I'm able to do there. And so Instagram is a lot for me. Mm-hmm. And so just know what your goal is for each platform, because if you go into every platform with the same goal, I think you're going to fail on some of them, because they're not going to produce that.
You're also going to be repetitive on each platform. And
Yep.
why, if you want people to support you in multiple spots, why are you going to put the exact same thing multiple times?
Yeah.
Right.
Because that's just redundant.
People can see when you're recycling content. It's obvious. Like, oh, you just posted this to a bunch of places.
Especially when your reels have your TikTok logo
TikTok
on them.
stand.
Exactly.
See, I'll only post like things from TikTok on Instagram if it was like really, really cool or I wanted to make a very specific point.
I'm gonna be that person real quick.
I'm also that person.
Eric, speak. Thank you.
Oh, buddy.
I will repurpose every bit of content and put it in the same spot.
Not even
I will-
not even remixed.
I
Same
will
thing.
I will like stagger it, but for my mental capacity, I am going to post the
Staggering
same
it
clip.
works though.
It does.
It does. It
Because
just
some
don't post
people-
it to the same platform at the same
Yeah,
time.
no,
The
Right.
interesting thing is, some people will just watch you on TikTok, but they won't watch you on Twitter, or they won't be on it. Like they're not going to be on every platform. I promise you, you're reaching somebody else.
I have
promise.
that a lot on my content.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong. Work smarter, not harder.
No, but,
But,
I feel the fresh takes though, because that was definitely.
But it
me
really does
too.
just depend on what you're doing. Like for
Exactly.
me, it's very important to
Oh.
separate the two. For someone else, like especially maybe like someone that makes things, you want everybody to see it. You want to reach different platforms. You want
Exactly.
different views.
Yeah.
But it really depends on your community and what you are doing.
All
Has it
right.
ever happened like in your real life where you're talking to somebody, and like
Yeah.
for me, like so much of my life is TikTok. Just thinking about TikTok, making TikToks,
And
making
corn.
just all of it. You say and corn?
And corn.
That's what the whole you haven't been on Corn Talk yet?
Oh, I've been on
Speaking-
corn. Okay,
okay.
I thought we were like,
Speaking-
there's so many
speaking
different
on
things
corn.
you could have meant by that.
Speaking on the corn, I
All
want
right,
you to
then.
deliver our last question, please, and thank you.
Sorry.
So what I try to do whenever I stream is to try to bring more good into the world than there was before the stream. Try to bring
Absolutely.
in more
Oh, yeah.
positive mental health and like positive vibes. But the games and stuff that I tend to play are a lot more of the more toxic side of things.
Oh
Like,
no,
I love Dark Souls. I love streaming League of Legends and like MOBAs and shooters and stuff like that. How do I
What dicks.
moderate?
Oh,
Now, okay,
that's the
so,
problem.
like
That
I
was
play
a-
Overwatch, I
You're
stream Overwatch, I
delivering.
stream WoW, I stream Mythic Rating WoW. So
I
the
stream
toxic
rating WoW for
the toxic that goes for that, I always just make sure that one, all chats are turned off, like in the game itself. Especially Overwatch, you make sure all of your voice chats are turned off. You make sure all of your type chats are turned off. And unfortunately, in Overwatch, you have to do this every single time you log into the game. So that is part of your stream setup. And then make sure your voice chats are muted. And then for me, if someone comes into my stream and they're trying to bring that game toxicity to my stream, first I'll ignore it because they're trolls. They want attention. If you don't feed them, they're gonna go away. If it gets to the point that they say something else, then this usually just a ban really quickly. I'm really quick on that, which is really weird because I have no moderators. I actually mod all of my own stuff. I don't have any mods at all.
You're
Yeah.
unique. Wow.
Yeah, I don't. As a girl that streams and I don't have mods.
Amazing.
I do everything by myself. But it's just being on top of it and not feeding into that toxicity and making a joke about it. If they want to come in and talk about my crap gameplay, yeah, I know I suck. I never said I was good. Like
Yeah.
I,
You're here
I
for
did
good,
not claim
you're on the
that
wrong stream.
anywhere on my
Yeah.
stream did I claim that I was good. You can ask Steven, what was it, my Halo Infinite streams? Oh God. Exactly.
Yeah, especially in a streaming, remember that you set the rules and you owe no MF or an explanation.
No.
Like if somebody comes in and you don't want them there for any reason, you don't even have to know why. Like that is your house.
I don't like
Get
your
out.
handle.
You don't
Right.
you don't like their handle. You don't like their
I don't like your font color.
like it is.
Taupe
You
is
get to
not
set the tone of the
permitted here.
space. And if you do that with confidence, you will draw people that like that space. And especially once you get to a certain size, oh my God, I just thought of a cooking analogy. Don't. Emulsification is fascinating. But your community, as it grows in size, but also grows in maturity, it will start to police itself. People will come in, and if they're unsavory characters, very quickly they'll be able to read the room, feel the temperature in the room. Perhaps they're a troll and they want that, but they'll immediately.
A lot of
No,
trolls just want
Eric,
attention
would
and
you
validation.
consider your community generally wholesome?
Oh no, mine's not wholesome at all.
Yeah, you. Are you? Are
Mine's
you?
not.
You're very wholesome. Do you still feel like it's very difficult to moderate, or you're still, constantly keeping the rules? It's very much a process.
For me, I find it extremely easy now. Yeah.
Now.
Yes.
Even my
Yes.
Twitch community is very adult.
Oh, well, let
and
me
they're
hear from
like-
Eric. Let me hear
Yeah.
from Eric. I'm asking him.
Well, no, yeah. But from the beginning too, anyway, yes, now I definitely do find it quite easy. Because one, frankly, I'm a white dude. And if I say, hey, like if I put on my guy voice and whatever, they'll listen, the trolls will listen to me and stuff.
I'll talk back, I promise. No, no, but please, I hear you. Yeah.
But yeah, I do find it quite easy now. But because my community is tenaciously wholesome. And the things that does get hard though is when and I think you'll find this eventually too, because the reason I'm doing any of this, the money I need to like survive so I don't die. But the reason I'm doing any of this is to try to increase the amount of goodness in the world. Why else would anybody do anything? So when I stream, what I'm trying to do is that. The things that get difficult is when my mods and I disagree on methodologies for doing that. So for example, if somebody comes in and they are a troll, just like they come in and try to get me to say some swear word in their username or whatever, like obviously get rid of them. But occasionally somebody will come in, it's usually 13, 14-year-old kid. They're starting to like get to the crossroads of like, I have like who I actually am over here and the alt-right pipeline over here. And they're standing right there. And I, who again, this like taller white dude, one of the only people in the world that this kid might listen to, I have their ear for like however long they're here for. And I can say to them like, hey, dude, there's a lot of goodness in the world. There's a lot of joy to be had out there. If you don't continue to be the POS that you apparently like, do it for yourself. I know you're going, but the only way that people like that develop, the only reason people who start going down that terrible pipeline might get out of it is because they're exposed to compassionate and patient communities. And so anyways, yes, I find it easy to generally to moderate my Twitch chat, but I do when I get somebody who is going down the wrong line, but gettable, I feel an obligation because of the position that I'm in to try to just grab them and be like, dude, there's so much better
What do
stuff
you
out
talk about while you're gaming?
Honestly, a lot of different things. Just going through like just my day-to-day life.
Idea, yeah. I think I know.
Like,
I mean, you know what I'm saying? It comes to mind like your gaming can be your backdrop.
Yeah.
And then you can put whatever you want on top of it. You can put yourself on top of it. You can put topics on top of it.
Yeah.
Whatever you think is important to put out there, whatever is on your mind, you can put out there on top of your gaming.
Yeah, all of my streams are just chatting streams, no matter what I'm doing.
Right.
Yeah,
Just
they all end
so
up that way.
happens I'm also playing Minecraft.
And I'm gonna say to kind of help wrap it up because we have like
3 minutes.
Voice some more.
Oh, no, we want to.
We enjoy it.
You didn't get to talk as much. I'm like, please.
We enjoyed that.
As someone who has dealt with hate raids on Twitch, on streaming, literally this year, and just a lot of stuff because they don't like this. Don't look at moderation as you having to be an asshole to people who come in. Look at it as you protecting your peace, because that's what you need to do. Moderation is not easy, but it's necessary. So you say, how do I moderate? Just come at it, look at the things you see and say, is this something I find acceptable? And if you can't say yes, then they're out. Or you have to reprimand them however you want to do it. I have a zero tolerance policy in my channel because you got me everlasting. But do what makes sense for you. But at the end of the day, protect your peace because that's all you got. And people, like I said, you're playing toxic games. That's going to draw a lot of people who are just going to be that person to get under your skin. Don't let them do it. Protect your peace.
Use your auto mod tools. Certain
That part.
keywords. Like I have certain keywords that I have that are auto modded that I've added, like OnlyFans, nudes, things like that, because of the adult stuff that I do. I don't want those words popping up on my Twitch stream because that is the easiest way to flag me for violations on Twitch. So I have those words.
Yeah.
They won't even pop up on my chat. They automatically.
And I'll
get
give you
filtered.
a unique taste on this. I am a toxic person. I truly am. You said League
No,
of
she's not.
Legends. He hasn't seen that side. If you're comfortable with, because I understand toxic communities definitely exist and there are levels to it. Like sometimes some people will say some things that seem a little brash, but I'm cool with it because we built that. So if your mods, it's all about building that community. If they know those people and they know it's okay, then there. But if somebody, you know how it is when people step into your space and it's over the line, then you say, hey, bro, don't do that. But you'll build that. It takes time, but build that toxic light community. And from there, like they said, just find your line. But Thank you guys so much. Y'all have transformed the conversation for me. If y'all have any other questions, feel free to jump into my DMs. We have all of our names here. Follow us, reach out. They are they're just sources of wisdom, but please bother me first, okay? Because we don't just want to, you might want to pay them if you want to ask questions. And please feel free to hop into that charity. And thank you so much. Rate our panel on the app if you'd like more. I will do better. This was my first time moderating. Thank you.
She likes everybody.
Thank you. And thank y'all so much for your time. Y'all really, it was so great. Y'all all made me almost cry. I was like, you're right. I have thought about that. Thank you. Have a great one. Y'all were awesome. Thank you so freaking much.
Thank you.
Oh no, this man had me. He held my hand. Thank you.